We're all here. You guys ready to go?
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to kick off the spring season with you. My name is Kathleen Hennessy, and I work with Monrovia's PR agency. I'll be introducing our experts from Monrovia in just a bit, but first we have a few details to cover with you guys. If you miss anything in the presentation today, we are recording and you'll receive a link in your email for the on-demand version. You are muted and your cameras are turned off, but we are encouraging you to participate by asking questions. And you can do that by typing your question into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. We have sales team members on hand to help answer those questions. When you signed up for the webinar, some of you sent us a few questions early, so thank you for that. We'll be addressing them today and may have time to answer a few live at the end. If we don't get to your question live, you'll receive an email answer very soon. We have some wonderful information to share with you today, so let's get to it. First, I'd like to introduce you to Monrovia's President and CEO, Jonathan Pedersen. Jonathan also heads up Monrovia's Plant Hunter team, and he has spent the last 25 plus years in horticulture, working with breeders around the world, bringing new plants to market. He is recognized as an industry leader and is responsible for some of the largest plant introductions in the country. Hello, Jonathan.
Good morning, everybody.
Next, I'd like you to meet Katie Tammany. Katie's official title is Chief Marketing Officer, but she really fills the role of Chief Storyteller and Trend Spotter at Monrovia. Katie is the former editor of Sunset Magazine and has more than 20 years of expertise in lifestyle and leisure industries. She's been tracking trends and helping companies prepare for the future throughout her career. Hello, Katie.
Hello, everyone.
Also with us today is Helen Lawson. Helen is Monrovia's social media manager. She has been a garden communicator for more than 15 years. And if you're tuning into Monrovia's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, or LinkedIn, she's responsible for all that great content that you're seeing. The information she produces reaches 350,000 garden consumers every month. Hi, Helen.
Hello. Hey, everyone.
So again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Katie, take it away.
Great. Let's see. I'm trying to share my screen and I seem to be running into a problem.
All right.
Oh, wait, here we go. I've got it. I've got it now. Okay. Can everybody see, hopefully? Okay, terrific. Yep. Let me get organized. Move some things around. Okay, well, let's start by seeing how we're all feeling about spring 2023. Quick poll. Are you feeling a bit anxious as we think about next spring? Are you feeling, cautiously optimistic? Or maybe you're feeling pretty darn positive. 2022 was a little bit bumpy, but maybe there's a lot of reason to feel good. And the answers are coming in.
I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Yeah. We're seeing actually a lot of optimism and positivity. We're in the plant business. Why would it be any different? There's a lot actually to feel really positive about. We're going to share some of that today. So we had actually the majority of you are feeling very positive, 50%, 41% cautiously optimistic, 9% feeling a bit anxious. Maybe we can help those that are feeling a bit anxious by giving you some tactics and things to think about as we get into the season. Oop, I'm having trouble making my poll go away. Okay, so today we're going to talk about key consumer insights and trends that we're tracking and that are shaping the way that we're marketing. We're going to talk about promoting value in uncertain times, social media tactics and other programs that Helen will be bringing you. And then Jonathan will be talking about key reflections and insights from his recent trip to IPM Essen. So let's jump in. So I want to talk about some broader trends shaping marketing right now from the consumer perspective. So number one, I'm stressed out and money is tighter, so I'm loyal to brands that simplify my life and provide real value. This means that I buy products that will help me be more successful and feel better right now. The world is a chaotic place under a lot of stress. How can you simplify my life? I'll purchase from businesses that keep things simple and anticipate my needs. So what does this look like at the garden center? Look at your welcoming moments and your checkout moments, the way that you greet people. Sometimes that's in person, but sometimes it might be the way that people come into your store and how they feel oriented. And then how do you make the checkout process easy? Is it easy to find a cart when you come in? Is it easy to pick up a bag of soil? If you have limited staff, can you create a wayfinding sign that addresses your shopper's needs at the very beginning? Even a sign that says, working on a project, let us help, can make people feel like they're at home. Or think of it addressing a common problem, like the example that you see here, soggy soil solutions. I think thinking beyond just labeling plants as perennials, flowering shrubs, really putting your mind in the mindset of the consumer who's really busy and looking for help is a way to create an experience that's really going to set you apart and provide value. I will shop everywhere. 70% of consumers increased their online purchasing during COVID, and they will continue to do so. So while there's been a growth in shopping online for convenience, we are also seeing a real rise in interest for browsing garden centers for inspiration. People are really choosing to come to your garden center to discover what they didn't know they needed. And we're also seeing a return back to home centers for ease and low price. But you do have an opportunity to win people over in value, and we're going to talk about that. I don't like ads, but I want to be in the know. People are working out ways to ignore ads all the time, and consumer behavior is constantly changing. But they will remember ads that entertain, inspire, or inform. And the more that you can add that into your advertising, the better. They'll also use and share content that's really useful and meaningful. So the more that you can provide them with content, helpful tools that they'll share with a friend, that's advertising for you, that's marketing. It's also why social media, SMS texting, and email are more important than ever. And that gets me to, I follow recommendations from sources I trust, whether that's brands that I have trust in or people. Think about how you could highlight the best-selling plants at your garden center for new gardeners. Could you do that in a bed marker sign? Could you add 5 stars to a plant that people have had a lot of success with? How can you invite people to tell you about which plants are working well for them and then share that with your other customers? I think that's an underutilized, undertapped resource right now at garden centers. You think about bookstores and how they have staff favorites, staff recommends. You could apply that to the garden center as well. So stepping maybe at a higher level, now let's talk about some key trends that are shaping people's plant choices and how you might want to think about that in your own plant selections or even how you're displaying plants. So the first trend I want to talk about is nostalgia, a romanticizing of a simpler, grounded way of life. We're all craving that right now. In a poll by Forerunner Research of 1,000 adults in the US, 75% identify as nostalgic. Look at the rise in vinyl records, thrifting, jigsaw puzzles, especially among younger homeowners, younger consumers. There's a real sense of a returning to a simpler way of life. And what that means in terms of plants is a rise in popularity of roses, hydrangeas, lilacs, plants that your grandmother may have grown, but you want an easier to take care of, better version of that. I think if you had a section at the garden center that was even, Grandma Betty's favorites, that would draw attention. People are interested in classic, timeless right now. And so using that language too in your signage and in your promotion can be very appealing. Second trend is what we call wilding. Greater interest in using natives, certainly, but also in landscapes that don't look landscapes necessarily. Regenerative agriculture, soil health, a sense of returning the earth to its natural state. What this also means, though, is an opportunity to educate, because most consumers don't necessarily want native, although they've heard that word a lot. Here in the West, many new gardeners or homeowners say that they want native plants when they really mean climate appropriate, drought tolerant, pollinator attracting. They want to do good for the environment, but I think native is maybe limiting. And maybe that's an opportunity for the garden center to expand beyond natives. Maybe it's natives and friends, natives and other pollinators, to help orient and educate your shopper. The third trend is a desire for privacy and retreat. A night of deep sleep is a badge of success right now, right? Longevity, calm, these are all things that we're craving. Personal health is a status symbol, and one of the most covetable assets is a tranquil place to connect to nature and shut out the chaos. How we gather insights. So I just shared with you a few things that are, trending at a high level. Monrovia uses a variety of techniques, a big annual online survey of homeowners across the US that goes very in depth on how people are thinking about the future. But we also engage with our email subscribers, over 100,000 of them, on a monthly basis to ask questions about what they're looking for, what they, where they're buying, what they want to buy, what they're struggling with, what they crave. And a lot of that is informing our presentation today, as well as our marketing tactics and the plants that, we're growing. So collecting all this data means we have a lot of insights to share that I think could be really useful to you. Talked about wilding and the interest in pollinators. That is a huge trend that's, informing especially a lot of younger gardeners, purchases in perennials, but also in shrubs, actually, is the interest in attracting pollinators and places, for birds and butterflies in the garden. 47% of gardeners strongly agree that gardening is good for my mental health and well-being. I just talked about how that's, that creating a tranquil place is a key motivator in not just gardening, but also in shopping at garden centers. People are saying that the garden center experience is relaxing and inspiring and makes them feel good. But I really want to draw attention to the data point in the middle there. 95% of gardeners say they bought something at the garden center they didn't plan to buy. And 42% were inspired to purchase by display. I think garden centers especially have an opportunity to move sales with displays more than, let's say, the mass merchants do, that have to follow a more templated approach and can't pivot quickly to respond to trends, and they can't really cater so much to their local market the way that a garden center can. So really thinking about your displays this year and the importance of them, I think, is a key part of increasing sales for next year. So in our latest in-depth online study, the results were that obviously we saw plant sales kind of going down in 2022, but we saw a lot of interesting signs that 2023 should be a really positive year for our industry. What's going up? Increased interest in outdoor projects. Even though, after we started moving around a lot, once we could last spring, people were traveling again, booking flights, going out to restaurants. The interest in improving our outdoor spaces didn't go away. It just kind of got put on hold as people were exercising this, newfound freedom, but that has stayed there. And then gardening as a way to de-stress and unwind, as I said, is up actually over 2021. What's gone down? People are returning to the office, so we're not just all trapped at home, either looking out our window. And also younger women gardening. They came in 2020, 2021, but as other leisure pursuits have returned, they're pursuing those as well. But it didn't mean that taste of gardening isn't something they don't want to pursue. They do, but it's a more fickle group. What it means is that while the COVID effect has kind of leveled out, homeowners are still interested in improving their spaces and in really implementing projects. And the more that garden centers can make people feel relaxed, nourished, knowledgeable, the more likely they will be to visit those places. projects drive purchase. And some of the project areas that we're seeing an increased interest in, adding an outdoor fire pit, creating an inviting space, just replanting along the driveway. There's huge opportunity in that in terms of how you create displays at the garden center. We are focused on addressing the needs of 3 garden groups in our marketing. And these are personas that we've identified through our research. So we've got the soulful gardener. This person is mainly motivated by the distressing idea, the need to unwind, relax in the garden. The whole earth gardener, who's very interested in doing things right, taking care of the earth, growing their own food, attracting, the pollinators I talked about. And then the style to win gardener, somebody who's really interested in the latest plants and wants to, make sure their garden reflects the style that they bring indoors. They want it to come outdoors. Interestingly, across all of these groups, they're not really gender specific. And in fact, that we've seen a rise in men purchasing Monrovia plants in the last year compared to 2021. One of the things that we've also seen is that men tend to be less price sensitive than women. They tend to actually be more at ease, with going into the garden center. I need a tree, I need a shrub, I'm going to get the one that looks good, and not thinking as much about price as women in the household. So ideas for display and promotion to these particular gardeners. 1, the soulful gardener. So their key source of inspiration is browsing garden centers. And how you can really appeal to this gardener is to reinforce that peaceful, inviting experience they have in planting. Maybe you mix in some water features around the garden center, wind chimes, birdhouses into displays, and using soothing color palettes so that the whole experience is relaxing. Label your plants for projects, like instead of a display area that just says, for shade, maybe you think about for shaded places or retreats. Think about the environment that your soulful gardener is trying to create and message your display accordingly. And then this group is really interested in that feeling of pride they get in the garden. So maybe there's a way you can invite them to share photos of their garden on a pin board at the garden center. Give them a place to express the pride that they feel in their garden. Words that matter most in newsletters and promotions to this group: browse our selection. The word browse, walk around, peaceful, well-being, value. We have posters too, our own POP that you can use to add to the relaxing space that you want to create. For the whole earth gardener, they are really seeking education at your garden center. And so every way that you can educate them on, the choices they're making. I was talking about demystifying native plants versus climate appropriate. There's an opportunity for you. Emphasizing how the plants they purchase can fit into the larger ecosystem. Maybe you label an area best for birds, or these are our pollinator magnets. Show them how to create outdoor dining spaces for their family. Maybe you even label a section of plants, great for around the barbecue, and you have your herb section, over there. Sell herb garden packs or an herb garden program to this group. Keywords: earth-friendly or earth-safe, organic, pollinator, connecting to what matters, being a better gardener, being a more thoughtful gardener. That's going to appeal to this group, as well as, again, we've got some posters that do appeal to this persona. And then lastly, the style to win gardener. So suggest plants that bloom in the season's colors or latest trends, and really talk about freshening up their landscape to this consumer. Maybe that's a great, newsletter subject or social media campaign. Fresh looks for spring, new plants, hard to find or unusual plants are going to be really appealing to this consumer. And then when you think about the words that matter, talk about new, best. It's the year of the salvia. It's the Pantone color of the year is magenta. That's going to appeal to this consumer. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is how value drives purchase, and the research that we have around what gardeners are valuing this year. hands down, in the online surveys we've done and the mobile survey tools that we've done, we can see that when we label something longer lasting blooms, or we say bloom spring till frost, that creates a sense of value in the consumer's mind, because I plant it and then I've got color, for many seasons. Fuller plants create the feeling and, the sense that, okay, if I start with a fuller plant, I'm going to have a beautiful garden faster. So think about that. Think about how you communicate that. Healthier plants, explaining to the consumer, what makes a healthy plant. It starts with the roots. We talk about, from Monrovia, we talk about the fact that we've got our custom soil mixes, and that that helps create really strong, healthy roots, so that when you plant the plant in your garden, the roots spread out and kind of, get involved in the soil a lot faster. That is going to help success. And remember what I talked about at the beginning, which is the more you can help gardeners feel confident and successful, make them feel like they've got the best start, the more they're going to see value in the plant. Problem solving, again, labeling your plants as ways to solve problems, erosion control, shade, soggy soil. I think anytime that you can add to garden knowledge, and, if somebody purchases something and they get something free, some free insert into their package that'll help them be a better gardener, that's providing value. And then doing good for the environment, that creates a sense of value, and people are willing to spend on those items. When pricing, when people are sensitive to price, and when the economy is uncertain, I think people tend to reduce the large expenses. You decide, I'm not gonna take the vacation that I thought, or I'm going to put off the new refrigerator. But there's something that I think of as the latte principle, which is, when times are tough, we need to give ourselves small rewards. We want to make ourselves feel good during tough times. And that means, even if you don't go out for dinner to the expensive restaurant, you splurge, for the latte on your way to work. It's similar with gardening, I think, in that gardening and plants can occupy that sense of small reward. Maybe I'm not going to put in, the new swimming pool this year or the complete outdoor kitchen, but I am going to give myself a small reward. And there's less price sensitivity out there in plants than you think, because what it really comes down to is, when I see a beautiful plant, a stunning shrub, something gorgeous, and it makes me feel good, I'm going to talk myself into buying that plant, just as I will talk myself into buying the latte, buying the new pair of jeans, buying the new pair of shoes that make me feel good. So other ways to communicate value. One is the garden center experience. As I mentioned, it's very different from the mass market experience. It's very different from online. This is an opportunity to browse, to discover, and to really think of your garden center as an experience, the way that you arrange displays, but also think about what you can do that others can't. The way that you provide rewards, loyalty rewards for purchase, the way that you can educate, have classes, invite maybe a local garden club in to have an experience at your garden center, the more that you can create a sense of value. Highlighting quality difference in what you sell. Again, I was talking about how fuller, healthier plants last longer and they're easier to care for. Communicate that to your shopper, and communicate the fact that you have the best selection for any project they may be working on. I think the other key thing to communicate value is not so much, discounting a plant, selling it for, less, but really promoting bundling and subscription ideas. This is an offer that I think was, from McDonald's Garden Center, that I thought was really beautiful. It was, purchase more, get more off. And this is not a new idea, but especially when you're trying to communicate value, I'd say go here with, the idea that if people are interested in projects, think about some of the projects that you can bundle together. Some things that you can bundle together, like create an herb garden, get $5 off these 5 plants that can go into your herb or edible garden. So those are a few ideas to think about value as we get into spring. And then connecting to quality wherever you can. We are going to really be promoting Monrovia value. Connecting to quality and talking about a lasting landscape begins with Monrovia quality this spring. You could do the same. You could talk about create a long lasting landscape with our plants. You can use our POP posters, and you can also use content from our website in what you're offering consumers. And Helen is going to get more into that next. So take it away, Helen.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Great info. So what I'm going to share is how to put those insights into what you're doing and put that into action this spring. So I'll start with a few winning formulas that I have found for social media. And then I'm going to show you how to turn our resources into your own marketing content and campaigns. So I could have called this first slide winning formulas, but instead I'm going to say your mileage may vary. Because this is what I have discovered works for the Monrovia brand voice, for the Monrovia audience. And so, yours may be very similar, but how I uncovered these is, you're going to see I'm kind of a fan of alliteration. So I schedule a metrics Monday for myself. Just about 15 minutes every week, but every week turns into every month, turns into a year. And so I have this aggregate of what is resonating for our audience. And so I want you to take a look at what works for you, but I also want you to think about not just looking at likes, but look at things like saves and shares, because that is your audience saying, this is so valuable, I'm keeping it. This is so valuable, I want to be an influencer to my friends and show them this piece of content or this picture, this plant. So I want you to pick a day that works for you. But do it on a consistent basis, because as in all things with social media, the consistency is what is key. So start seeing, some of your things may match, but I want you to find your own winning formulas. What works for me on Facebook? Here come my 4 H's, how-tos. So that's the content that we create that's for our Grow Confidently segment of information. So it's a lot of our blog content, how to grow this, grow hellebores. That works very well. I say hydrangeas, I'm really talking about those nostalgia plants that Katie talked about. So it is a lot, hydrangeas are always a hit, but things that people recognize and remember. And I think it's also the feeling of empowerment that they do know this plant, they recognize this, and people like to feel knowledgeable. So that comes through. Hot colors. I mean, the Seaside Serenade hydrangea is kind of that best of both worlds, but also a great bright coneflower. Just seems to jump off the screen for our Facebook followers. Hooks. Now, this is a term from journalism, from newspaper writing. That means a good, strong, catchy start. So if you've seen my wow, what's that Instagram campaign, that's what that is. It's an exclamation, a question, something fast to grab them. But then over on Instagram, we kind of have a different vibe and a different aesthetic where the colors are moodier, purples, dark leaf foliage that always gets the oohs and ahs. Some movement. So of course the infamous reels, but even if I don't have a video clip, there's going to be some sense of moving through the picture, the way your eye is going along this border of plants. Maybe for you, it's down the center garden, through the aisle of your store. Or I can create movement with multiple images. So people scrolling through a carousel, I'll usually post a carousel of images, and those work really well for us. And then an element of mystery. So that might be a mystery that I'm asking them to solve. And again, they feel empowered if I'm asking for a very simple plant ID or something they would readily know. Or I'm appealing to those style to win people with a new plant or something new they haven't seen before, first on the block. They love a caption that unlocks some extra info. Over on Pinterest, that's where our planners hang out and get ready for a season. So you might be wanting to do stuff in a very timely, in the moment for Instagram and Facebook, but back that up a couple months for Pinterest. So start talking to them now about spring or even Mother's Day, certainly Valentine's Day, get on it. But they are looking for stuff a few months ahead of time. So start it out there. They're looking for information on projects. And here's one of my Monday metrics, privacy. That may just be our audience, but privacy plantings is a really, really top pin piece of content for us. So we lean into that. And that also tells us we need more blog content about privacy, and we build from there. And then those predictions. So Pinterest actually does a really fun report where they call it Pinterest Predicts. You can find it on their website. And they look at what people are searching for, and they use that to track trends. So that idea that Katie talked about of tranquility and enclosure in a garden, they're seeing a trend towards secret gardens. So think about how you could be creating one of those compelling displays that are going to sell more plants, where you're pulling in all those screening plants, or even creating that little vignette with a beautiful fountain or bird bath. Okay, TikTok. Should you be on TikTok? Yes, it's fun. And I broke my alliteration, and later on I thought about, I should have said talk on TikTok, but have people talking on TikTok. For us, that works the best. Just today, I got a notification for Arts Nursery out in British Columbia. They have a TikTok with 200,000 views, and all she's doing, not to say all, but she is walking through the garden center. It's called 5 house plants that love low light. She picks up a pothos, a snake plant. That's it. So it's just talking to your smartphone the way you talk to your garden center customer. Show them the plant, tell them some of your knowledge. Okay, so that is sounding like a lot of content and a lot of things to do. One more piece of alliteration is just to show up on social media. But to show up, you need good content. And so let's look at that. You can use what we have. It is as simple as that. We have blog posts, we have guides, we have videos. You can share them all. In a minute, I'm going to show you where to find them, and then how you can repost and repackage them. And I'm calling it our content, but a big part of the reason that we're creating it is for you to use. So want to show you how to do that. I want you to show us what you've got, and I've got the quick tip how to do that. Tag at Monrovia Plants, not just Monrovia, not Monrovia Nursery, tag at Monrovia Plants, so that I can see it and share it out to those 350,000 followers we have. And I'm asking you to please do that because I have a goal. Last summer or last year, I shared 1,500 garden centers posts to our audience, but I have a goal to increase that by 30%. So I need your posts. Help me out. Another way you can be part of what we do, we have the Be a Winner program coming out in June. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And then casting call. I need influencers, and I do not need the Kardashians. I need knowledgeable plant people that can share that expertise that we just talked about. Talk it up on TikTok. But if there's a collaboration where I can amplify that to our audience, I'm doing that talent search. You know, who's out there that can talk to the audience, and we can work together. Okay, here's where to find what we have on our website, monrovia.com. Up in the upper, that top menu bar, you see retailers and pros. Expand that tab, and then you're going to go over to content. It's going to scroll over here in just a second. Here we go. Go ahead, Katie. It'll keep going. So when you open that up, you will see under 4 retailers, content. I think it's called content to share. Mm-hmm. And that's the first piece of information I want you to find at the top of the page is our editorial calendar. And this is the script that we're following throughout the season. Knowing what plants we're promoting will let you know what displays and what inventory you might want to have in store. What else do we have here? We've got, there's the Be a Winner resources that I'll show you in a minute. We've got the blog posts that you can share, and here it's going to drill down. It's going to show you. You just simply go to links of information you want on our blog, and you share that link. Drop it into a social media post, drop it into your email, drop it into your newsletter. Go ahead and use it as a handout in a customer seminar. However you'd like to use it, it's there for you. What else do we have? We've got photography that you can use from us. I will say start on that one, start with talking to your rep, and they can get you the permissions and the appropriate digital, the appropriate graphics to use. What else do we have? We have plant videos. So Georgia filmed a series of great videos for you. So those are all YouTube links that you can embed, you can use, you can share in all your social media. And what else? Oh, our downloadable consumer guides. So these are in-depth guides. They include things like planting plans. These are things that our followers find really valuable. So if you want to add value, that's something you might want to share. And then I'm going to recommend to you, this is our email newsletter we send out to consumers, but I would recommend you go ahead and subscribe to that because then you're going to get that push notification of the content that we're sending out immediately as soon as it happens. So you know there's new stuff for you to grab and share. You'll also see what plants we might be promoting, putting a special emphasis on that for that month. And you can find the sign up box to sign up for that at the bottom of any of the pages on our website. There's a little easy box, or you'll see these links here in the slide. And as Kathleen said, you'll get a copy of this presentation to use those. All
The
right.
links are also in the chat, Helen. So if anybody's
great.
they're there.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Sure.
Okay, so Be a Winner giveaway. This is a program that we created for you, garden centers, knowing that interest, that consumer interest in pollinator gardening. So this program will give you leads. You will get a list of email leads from me of all the people who have entered. So you see the QR code. This is the poster. We give you this poster. It will contain this QR code that links to a contest entry form. The contest entry form we create for you and give to you. We give you the plants to give away. All you need to do is create a great display of the pollinator plants, put in this signage, and then at the end of the giveaway, which will happen in June, I will select your winners. I will notify them for you. I will send them to you, and then I will send you an email list. So what I want you to do, if you are thinking about signing up, and the deadline to sign up is the beginning of April. I think it's April 1. So if you're thinking of doing that, talk to your rep and they can get you signed up. But I want you to have an email marketing program. So if you don't already have a system for sending out emails to customers, if you need help, let me know. But I want you to have that set up so you're ready to hit the ground running when you have those email leads from me. Okay, a couple other things happening this spring from us. We have our ad camp or our digital ad campaign. So we will be focusing on those hydrangeas, the Seaside Serenade hydrangeas, Grace and Grit roses, Evolution coneflowers, and Sunbelievable sunflowers. So think now about what inventory, what marketing you might want to be doing to build on the consumer interest that we're driving to you with that advertising. I particularly want you to be ready for the roses because we're going to be doing a big emphasis with all the new rose introductions we have this spring. We have a giveaway in May called Run for the Roses that we'll be conducting. Of course, there's Mother's Day, so great opportunities to market and sell some roses. So I want you to be ready. And then your reps will talk to you throughout the year as we add new programs. So like last December, we did a garden center decorating contest for our red pot wraps. So, if your rep reaches out and says they have something to share with you, check in with them and see what else we might have. Okay, so here is how you reach me. I am the social media manager and would love to socialize with you. If your social media manager or marketing person is not on this call, please share my contact information with them, particularly if you're interested in doing a collaboration with us. And just once again, we're at Monrovia Plants on all of our social media channels. All right, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Jonathan and get his plant hunter scattering report from IPM Essen. Jonathan, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Helen and Katie. First off, could you go back 2 slides? All right. So right here, just to let everyone know, we have worked really hard on our hydrangea collection, and we have these growing at all 4 Monrovia nurseries. And what we've done this spring to really make sure that we hit the right timing is we've really done a really nice job of getting some in our southern nurseries into coolers this winter to make sure that we really get very good bud set. And they're now in hoop houses. So we will have budded and blooming hydrangea macrophyllus by the 15th of March, all the way through June. So depending on what nursery you want to pull from, we're going to have a very, very good selection of our Seaside Serenade hydrangeas that you can extend the blooming season with. And these are hydrangeas that have a very, very long shelf life anyway, just because of the breeding that goes in them. The flowers last for months, but because of us being able to look at our various nurseries across the country, we're really extending that from March all the way through June. And those will not be super soft. They will be hardened off and will do well outside. We've done the same thing with our rose selection this year. And we also have, for the first time, a very, very good inventory of our roses, the Grace and Grits. We have them this year all as patio trees as well. So some really nice variety there to pull from. And again, we're bringing some of those into different environments. We've updated our Cravo house at our California nursery, and we have some roses in there to really kind of lengthen that season of peak bud and bloom roses. So just wanted to mention that. And then as far as, I think one of the things that we've worked on really hard with our marketing team is to put together programs that are easy for the garden center to be able to pull off, because we know how busy you get in spring and how it can be completely overwhelming. So hopefully you know exactly where to go on our website to get at this information. If you've got questions, please reach out to your sales rep. But it's very easy to get onto our website to get some of the shareable content, and it is for you. We have designed it for independent garden centers to be able to use. And we have a new mantra at Monrovia when it comes to marketing programs, and it's real easy. It's keep it simple. We know that for you to be able to have success, we need to really keep the program as simple as possible, but still engaging for the consumer. And our Be a Winner program is exactly that. So, Katie, if you want to go to one of the insights before I get to this that I saw several years ago. I've been going to the IPM show, which is a winter trade show in Essen, Germany. It basically is every single country in Europe goes to one show. And so each hall is a different country. You get all sorts of different display ideas, because it really is a melting pot of different personalities and country personalities, from the Dutch to the Germans to the French to the Italians. It's amazing. And I've been going to it for over 20 years. I see a lot of stuff that starts at that show or starts in Europe that does become a trend in the US as well. Not everything. But one of the things that I saw several years ago was this pollinator trend. And we saw that at IPM coming through pretty loud and clear. And we thought that that was going to be something that was really going to take off. And it has. And I would say it's not just in Europe. It's not just in the US. In the last couple of months, I've traveled back down to New Zealand. I've been to Israel, and throughout Europe. It is everywhere in the Western world that pollinators has become a massive trend for consumers. And it goes over age demographics. It's from a younger consumer to an older consumer that this idea of being able to invite pollinators into my garden is definitely a trend that you can capitalize on. And I think it's here to stay. So some other things we saw this year, because of what's happened in Europe with the invasion of Ukraine, there was a lot of concern about heating greenhouses this winter and heating homes. And so what we saw was a bit of a trend towards plants that do well in a cool environment. And Katie and I actually toured some garden centers before we got to the trade show as well. And it was amazing how good of a job they did with plants that really can handle cool, temperate, freezing, and still be of interest. And that can be anything from a salix to a skimmia to hellebores. And they really do a fantastic job at displaying those and making them inviting. And the garden centers that we toured on a Saturday and a Sunday in the middle of January were busy. And people were browsing and bringing their families, and really they made it fun and interesting. So that's one of the things that I think that we could really start to do a better job with in the US market is really looking for those plants that still have interest on those shoulder seasons. So that was one of the things. The houseplant trend, it may have cooled a little bit because of what Katie said earlier, with maybe some of those 25 to 35-year-old female consumers that decided to go to Cozumel and go to the beach this year or last year. But the trend is still very, very, very strong. If you are ever in Amsterdam and you land at the airport, there is a great place to go visit. Very, very close to the airport. Within 10 minutes, anyone can actually get into it. It's called Water Drinkers. And what it is a massive warehouse full of a whole bunch of growers' plants. And it really gives you some amazing ideas as well on what's happening with plants, plant trends, and how Europeans are packaging. And so that's one of the things that we look at. Some things that are coming through loud and clear: easy care, low maintenance, and just the sense of style that I think that they do very well. And some of the plants that they use as house plants that we just normally maybe wouldn't think of, that are kind of crossover plants. So packaging is also very important there. And lots of unique varieties and definitely larger sizes. We saw a huge trend towards 2, 3, 5 gallon indoor houseplants. Instead of a small Ficus elastica rubber plant in a 1 gallon, it would be a 5 gallon patio tree, which is a trend that we're also seeing with our line of houseplants that we're doing. And the patio tree line is expanding and doing very, very well. So we see some of those trends coming through loud and strong in Europe and in the US. Sustainability. We've talked about this several times already today. It doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to everybody, but it definitely is coming through. And the UK and EU are a little ahead of the US on this for the most part. And that's because of maybe more rules and regulations within the European Union and the UK for this. But it comes down to a fairly wide expansion of what sustainability means. And at Monrovia, we are in the midst of looking at this. We are doing a sustainability audit right now, looking at everything we do, but looking at living wages for employees, making sure that we're able to automate tasks that don't have human value. One of those at Monrovia is trying to automate spacing of plants, because who wants to be bent over all day long spacing 1 gallon perennials when we grow millions of them? It's a lot of work, and it can add to back strain and not a fun job. So we're looking to automate some of those tasks and make sure that we move those humans to where we really need them with value added human tasks. The use of less plastic. And it would be fantastic if we could eliminate plastic from our supply chain, but we can't right now. There isn't really good alternatives. But what we are really emphasizing is the recycling of plastic. And this is, I would say, a huge trend in Europe. It isn't the elimination of plastic, it's recycling it all and making sure that if you use a plastic plant pick or anything plastic, that it's recycled content. And this is something that at Monrovia, we are pushing with all of our suppliers extremely hard in the US to make sure that whether it's our Monrovia plastic pots or plastic tags or any plastic we use, that it has a good portion of recycled content within it, and it can be recycled as well to get used over and over and over again, because the elimination of plastic completely right now, there just isn't alternatives out there that will last for a nursery. But that's a big thing for us that we're really focused on right now is recycling of plastic. Looking at the whole supply chain for waste and excess, and that is everything. It's how do we recycle our water, which we're very proud of at Monrovia. We recycle our water. Any water that leaves the nurseries goes through various processes to make sure it's clean before it would leave, and we recycle an enormous amount of our water use every year. But it's also looking at all of the other components that make up our soil and where we buy from. So looking at that whole supply chain and looking for areas of waste and excess is really critical. And I think the Europeans are a little bit ahead of us. And then the last one is the plant mix, making sure it's the right plants for the environment. And in Europe, I would say that natives are not a thing, which is maybe where we're a little different in the US, where I hear more call for native varieties. In Europe, doesn't happen at all. And there are also a lot less attention on invasive species in Europe, which I find very interesting, because when you drive down motorways in Europe, I see buddleia growing out of cracks all over the place. They just don't seem to care about it, and they tolerate it. So I think the US is a little ahead on invasive species than Europe is. But where I do think it's really critical important is just this right plant, right place. And that is different depending on where you're at in the US market. So if you're in the California market, more water, drought tolerant, even though they've had a good deal of rain this winter and their snowpack is at 246%, it's a long-term trend to make sure that we're producing plants that can do well in that environment with lower water use. So depending on where you're at, right plant. And then as Katie said, native can be a little narrow. So looking at really what that really means, what the consumer is really asking for, I think is also something that's very appropriate. So, and then in these photos here, use of bamboo stakes, which we are now using on our houseplant line. You can see that's more of a paper tag, which we're also using. They don't hold up to the outside environment quite as well as we would like right now. So we haven't switched to them for everything, but for our houseplant line, that's kind of how our houseplants come. And then I really love this idea of a bamboo container. Obviously, we couldn't grow in it. It would have to be a pot swap type thing, but looking at ways to be more friendly, environmentally conscious, and emphasis of less plastic. So those are just some of the things that I thought were unique to this year's IPM. Every year it changes a little bit. And as I said, I've been going there for well over 20 years now. So I hope you enjoyed all of the information that was shared today. We have so much value-added info that is at your fingertips. You've just got to put it to work. I appreciate everyone listening today, and I hope you have a great spring.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, we will have the link to you very soon. You'll receive an email with the link for the on-demand version of the webinar, and make sure you check out all the other webinars that we'll be presenting for this spring and beyond for consumers. Katie, I'll hand it off to you for the final goodbye.
Okay, thanks everyone. And yeah, we're here for you. We're here to support your sales and have a good spring together. So so feel free to reach out to any of us to try to make that happen. All right, take care. Have a great day.